She says she missed you, takes your hand like the cold of the past months never happened. Then she whispers, "I'm pregnant." And even though you smile, you already know something's wrong. The dates don't add up. The phone she never lets go of. That look in her eyes. No joy, no worry, just distance. So you start digging, not out of revenge, but instinct. One file, one chat, one sentence. It's your baby, but the message isn't meant for you. What do you do when betrayal isn't impulsive, but calculated? When warmth returns not out of love, but out of fear of being exposed? You can scream, you can leave, or you can wait. For the perfect moment, right in the middle of the celebration, when everyone's smiling, when she thinks she's won. Sometimes revenge is silence, and the truth, spoken aloud to everyone she lied to. Hello, my friend. I'm so glad you stopped by my channel. If you're here for the first time, don't forget to subscribe and share this video with your friends or family. It really helps my channel a lot. Please tell me in which city or country you watched this video. I value every one of your comments. So, let's get started. I'm Thomas, and I used to think betrayal came like thunder, loud, sudden, impossible to miss. But that's not how it works. It creeps in quietly, a silent leak of poison, subtle, invisible, until one day, the whole foundation gives out. Naomi and I had been married for 6 years. The early ones were filled with warmth, not perfect, but real. We had our routines, lazy Sunday breakfasts, movie marathons with black and white classics, private jokes that made no sense to anyone else. But over time, those small joys started to fade, not with a bang, but like paint slowly peeling off a wall. She was promoted at work, bigger role, higher stakes, longer hours. I didn't question it. I was proud of her. "Big day coming up?" I'd ask while she grabbed her bag. "Yeah, really big," she'd answer, barely glancing up from her phone. That became our new normal, short exchanges, distant tones. It felt like she was withdrawing, little by little. The only time her expression changed was when her phone vibrated. Even then, I stayed the course, handled the errands, kept our lives running, and pushed my doubts deep down. Then came the strange silence around the topic of children. We'd been loosely trying for a baby for about a year. Then, without a word, she stopped tracking her cycle, skipped her checkups. When I finally brought it up, asked if having a child was still something she wanted, she just shrugged. "Let's not force it," she muttered. That's when it clicked. Not because she looked sad or unsure. That would have made sense. No, she looked distant, like someone playing a part in a show they'd mentally quit long ago. And just as I was adjusting to the slow unraveling of what we'd built, everything shifted. One evening, she walked in holding my favorite Thai food. "I missed you," she said softly, leaning in for a kiss, tentative but warm, like the months of cold hadn't happened. That night, she curled up beside me as if nothing had ever been broken. I should have asked questions, should have wondered why the sudden change. But when you've been starving emotionally, even a scrap feels like a banquet. What followed was surreal. Naomi seemed reborn, present, engaged, almost glowing. She started laughing again, genuine, carefree laughter. She'd slip notes into my lunch. "Miss you already?" Or, "Tonight's just us." It felt unreal, like emotional whiplash. The woman I thought I'd lost had returned as though she'd never gone. I didn't know whether to embrace it or brace for impact. Then one night, I came home to low lighting and candlelight dancing across the kitchen. She'd actually made dinner, no shortcuts. I hesitated but asked, "What changed?" She hesitated too, eyes dropping. "I lost sight of us," she said. "Got wrapped up in work, in everything else. But I don't want us to fall apart." It sounded rehearsed, almost too clean, but it was what I'd been aching to hear. So I didn't argue. I just held her hand. That was enough, at least for a while. In the weeks that followed, we found our rhythm again. She did the small things, folded my shirts, poured my coffee, kissed me before I left each morning. It felt like we were starting over. until the night she sat beside me on the couch, something in her eyes trembling. Her hand reached out with a small plastic test. "I took one," she said. "It's positive." I froze. We hadn't been actively trying in months. There'd been no conversations, no plans. Still, I smiled, kissed her forehead, said all the right things. But something inside me recoiled. A whisper started echoing in the back of my mind. "Is the baby yours?" We didn't tell anyone that night. Naomi said she wanted to wait for the first scan. She didn't want to jinx it. I agreed. But deep down, I wasn't waiting because of superstition. I was stalling, because something felt off. The timeline didn't sit right. I replayed the dates in my head over and over. If it really happened when she claimed, it would have been one of those first reconnection nights. But it felt too tidy, too orchestrated. I tried to brush it aside, but things started stacking up. She was never without her phone, even took it into the bathroom, changed the lock screen code, no more casually leaving it charging by the bed. She silenced incoming calls before I could hear anything. No names, no voices. Individually, it was all circumstantial. But together, it gnawed at me. I needed more than instinct. I needed answers. So I reached out to the one person who might have a window into what was going on, her sister, Maris. We met at a quiet cafe on a gray afternoon. I kept it casual, but didn't dance around the question. "Naomi been talking to you lately?" Maris stirred her drink slowly, eyes fixed on the table. "Not really," she said after a pause. "She's kind of been keeping to herself. Says work's intense." "Did she say why?" "Just that it was work," Maris answered. "You know how she gets completely consumed when something big's on her plate." I nodded slowly. "Did she ever mention anyone in particular from work?" Maris hesitated. "Charles, her boss. She used to bring him up all the time. Complaints about meetings, stress, weird little anecdotes." "Used to?" "Yeah," she said, her brow furrowed. "That stopped a few weeks back. It stood out because, well, that's not like her." "Any idea why?" "She always mentioned him when we talked. I thought maybe something happened between them. Maybe a fight. Or maybe he crossed a line." I didn't respond right away. That name, Charles, stuck. I remembered her bringing him up in passing, like background noise. But lately, nothing. Silence. And people don't go silent on someone unless there's a reason, unless they're hiding something. That night, sleep never came. I stayed on the couch, staring at nothing, every word Maris said looping in my head. There was a knot in my stomach that wouldn't go away. By the time the sky lightened, I knew what I had to do. I needed the truth. So I started tearing the apartment apart looking for her old tablet. I emptied drawers, pulled out storage bins from under the bed, combed through the clutter until I found it, wedged in the corner of the hallway closet, buried in a box full of tangled chargers and outdated gadgets. She used to use it for simple things, reading, emails, syncing to her cloud. I didn't turn it on. Instead, I got in my car and drove across town to a tech repair place I'd seen 100 times but never entered. The guy behind the counter looked up as I walked in. I held the tablet out. "Can you recover deleted files?" He nodded, took it, and told me to give him an hour. I drifted around the area, bought a coffee I never drank. When I came back, he slid the tablet across the counter, tapped the screen once, and gave me a nod. I paid and left without a word. I didn't go home. I sat in my car, staring at the dashboard, motionless. Then I turned the tablet on. Photos, videos, messages, everything. I scrolled through it like each swipe dragged me further down, and then I saw them. Dozens of messages from Charles, back and forth, timestamps, plans, flirtation that escalated, conversations that weren't meant for me. Then the one that hit like a blow to the chest, a message from her, a month before she told me she was pregnant. "I'm late," he responded. "Are you sure it's not his?" And she wrote back, "It's yours." But we hadn't been close in weeks. My vision blurred. I blinked hard, jaw clenched, trying not to break down right there in the car. Suddenly, everything made sense. The sudden affection, the softness, how she'd wrapped herself around me like she was in love again. But it wasn't love. It was control. A rehearsed performance to keep the story straight if anyone started asking questions. There comes a moment when rage cools into resolve, when your voice quiets and the chaos inside you sharpens into something focused. That's when you choose your next move. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to plead. I'd respond with the same cold precision she thought she had over me, but I'd do it my way. A week after the ultrasound, I brought it up casually over dinner. "We should plan something," I said, cutting my steak. She looked up, curious. "Plan what?" "For the baby. A little celebration. Just close friends and family." Her eyes widened slightly, then softened. "You'd really do that?" "Of course," I said. "Let's keep it simple. Brunch, soft music, modest decorations, just enough to make it feel meaningful." She reached for my hand, smiled. "Thank you," she said quietly. "That means a lot." She looked so at peace, and in that moment I knew. She didn't suspect a thing. In the days that followed, I played the part, helped choose colors and flowers, smiled while she obsessed over cake flavors. But behind the scenes, I was assembling something else entirely. 1 week before the shower, I met with my lawyer. I handed over the evidence, screenshots, synced files, timestamps. We didn't wait. Divorce papers were drafted right then. No gray areas, adultery, deceit, paternity lies. It was all laid out. The night before the party, I printed out the most damning messages, folded them, sealed them in an envelope. The morning of the event, I was up early, helped set up tables, checked the guest list, greeted people with a practiced smile. Naomi looked radiant, the kind of glow that fools everyone into thinking everything's perfect. She touched my arm, called me babe, played her role flawlessly. Around noon, they brought out the cake. Applause rang out. Naomi stood beside me, one hand on her belly, glowing for the crowd. "Say a few words," someone called. I stepped forward, voice calm, unwavering. "Thanks for coming, everyone. It means a lot to celebrate a moment like this, even if things aren't always what they seem." The room stilled. Silence fell like a curtain. I reached into my jacket, pulled out the envelope. "This is for Naomi," I said. She laughed, a little nervous. "What is it?" I gave her everything. No lies, no filters, just the truth, raw and exposed. She unfolded the pages with a trembling grip, her fingers hesitating the second her eyes scanned the first lines. Her gaze moved quickly at first, then stopped cold. She didn't utter a word. She didn't have to. Her face spoke volumes. She stood frozen, clutching the paper like it might burn through her palms. Her mouth opened slightly, as if a reaction was forming, but nothing came out. A few guests leaned in closer, sensing something. Others traded uneasy glances. The air grew heavy, not just quiet but electric with tension. You could almost hear it hum. "Thomas," she whispered. "Read it," I said. "All of it." But she didn't turn the page. She didn't need to. Her eyes had already landed on the line, her admission to Charles that he was the father. I faced the room, my voice calm. "For those who didn't know, the baby Naomi's carrying isn't mine. It belongs to her boss, the one she claimed was just mentoring her, the same man she's been seeing behind my back for over a year." Shock rippled through the crowd like a silent wave. A few gasps escaped. Chairs scraped quietly across the floor. Someone stifled a breath. Eyes darted anywhere but toward me. "The divorce is already underway," I continued, voice level. I let my eyes pass over the room. Naomi stepped forward, her voice barely more than a whisper, raw and shaking. "Please, not like this. Can we talk?" I stepped back, slowly. "There's nothing left to talk about." I glanced at her parents, silent, stunned, then looked back at her. I wasn't angry. There were no tears, no yelling, just a man watching the curtain fall on a performance, knowing the lead had been caught in her lie. "I hope he's everything you gave up for," I said, "because I'm not staying." And I left. I didn't go home. Instead, I checked into a hotel on the far side of town and turned my phone off. By morning, the aftermath had begun. Missed calls, voicemails, a few friends scrambling to understand what had happened. Maris called several times. I let them all go unanswered. There wasn't anything left to explain. 2 days later, I came back to the house. She was gone. Her clothes, her toiletries, the photos that used to line the hallway, all vanished. No note, no apology. I stood in the kitchen, surrounded by the quiet. It didn't feel like peace. Not yet. Just an absence. The silence that follows a storm, when there's nothing left to break. The divorce was finalized that week. My lawyer forwarded the final documents. She didn't fight it. No objections, no phone calls, just her signature, tidy, emotionless, on the last page. A few days later, I saw Maris. She looked worn out. "She's staying with someone," she said. "She's not in a good place." I let out a long breath. She made her choices. She has to live with them. Maris hesitated. "She asked me to tell you she's sorry." I shook my head. "She's not sorry for doing it. She's sorry I found out." Time moved forward. I got a smaller place across the city, somewhere untouched by the past. I started exercising again, took up hiking on weekends, tried things I used to say I didn't have time for. The quiet stopped feeling empty. It felt still, manageable. Some old friends stayed in touch. When they asked how I was, I told them the truth. I was okay. I meant it. Because healing didn't come from bitterness or revenge. It came from leaving with my pride intact. No rage, no score to settle, just distance. And sometimes, that's what strength looks like. Not burning everything down behind you, but walking away on your own terms. One step at a time, without once turning back. This story has come to an end. What's your opinion? Share it in the comments, my friend. And if you liked this story, check out other exciting videos on my channel. I'll say goodbye until the next video. See you.